Today, I want you to try to do something with me. Now, I'll need, I think, 4 minutes of your time. Think about something that was uncomfortable. I don't want you to share it. I want you to think about the emotions, how you felt. Did you act on it? What were those sort of things? What is associated with the word uncomfortable? Now for part 2, you can do this with me if you'd like, or just close your eyes and really listen. If you'd like, repeat after me for 45 seconds. Uncomfortable, 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 uncomfortable. Uncomfortable, 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 uncomfortable. Okay, we made it. So, how did this feel? Like, what were the reactions? Did it have any sort of like weaning effect? Did it start to sound more like the actual sounds and these weird movements? Did it feel weird in your lips and the way that you were saying these sort of things? Now, I actually encourage you, real quick, pause, and if you are comfortable, share what experience you had with this. I'm gonna wait a second. For me, it starts to sound like a bunch of sounds, like you start to kind of get away from that literal meaning. And where this comes from is actually this word repetition exercise is dated back all the way into 1916. There was a British psychologist that was named Edward B. Titchener. If you're really interested in that sort of history, I'm gonna link his book down below and go check it out. But the initial point of this was to remove this emotional impact that words have. And what's cool is behavior analytic interpretations of this phenomenon, specifically coming out of the movement of relational frame theory and acceptance and commitment therapy, have provided a rationale as to why these sort of things are happening, a conceptual understanding of what's going on here. And it's this term called cognitive diffusion. Diffusion with an E, note that. It's this process of having you engage repeatedly in this sort of behavior to try to remove that literal meaning, the effects that it has when it is heard, when it is said. Now, this medium's not the perfect medium to try to test it out. Typically, it's just 20 to 45 seconds in your own, really in a place where there's just nothing going on, like this empty studio, no sound. You would just repeat the word loud as fast as you can while still articulating the syllables correctly. Now, I picked this word specifically to demonstrate this exercise because, well, it's in vogue and for many good reasons in our field. In a sense, it gets you to click in and try this out. And in no way do I want to pick on this movement in any sort of way. Let's make that super clear. I am in full support of the uncomfortable movement, so much so that I paid my own cash to be able to bring Megan Kirby, Barbara Kaminsky out, have them speak at our event last year. This is like, come out, we'll put you up, we'll reimburse you for what's going on, like expenses paid. Like, I'm committed into this, and everybody in that Facebook group, all 5,500 people or whatever it is, keep going. What I am interested in talking about here, and kind of my question to you, is how responsible are we as a culture to use this word in certain circumstances? Now, at the individual level, we're all granted the right in this country to be able to talk about our own opinions, form our own, free speech, and say whatever the hell it is that we want to say. That's cool. To each their own. Love it. Keep going with it. Hell yeah, America. I'm interested in this because this beauty of us being able to say what it is that we want to say on our own may actually also create the conditions for our culture being perceived differently. Let me tell you a quick story. I was at a country abroad, and they make $800 a year as a frontline therapist. $800 a year, okay? Think about that. That's, for me, this lens. That's one lens. I was talking to them about this with this one lens in my hand on this camera. And to them, this movement was actually perceived as something almost atrocious because of the type of things that were being associated with that word and how they don't resonate with people because not everyone's in the same situation. And so while we each have the ability to be able to say what it is that we are uncomfortable with, and that's rightfully okay, what happens as a culture is you start to use this more and more, it starts to have different meanings, and it starts to, in a way, maybe divide us. I don't know. Now, the cost of living there, I believe, was $400 a month. That's just the state of services there in that area. So you can think about, how many people does that take to make ends meet? How many people need to be living under the same roof to be able to pursue this sort of field? It's not the same as it is here in the States. I'm mentioning that because a lot of you view from the States, I think it's 93 or 90% or so, but also that's where I reside. So I don't know, tell me how you feel about this. I don't have the answer. I'm curious on what your opinion and perspective is. I don't know if this is a thing that is even worth talking about or if it's controllable, but I've interacted with it multiple times, and I don't know. I want to be informed, so I'm all yours.